Hello and welcome back to Mellohi, a DSMP podcast. This is episode 41 and today we're discussing divisive events and character backstories. As always, we refer to the characters by name and specify when we're talking about the writers, and we try to focus on analysis. Alright, we're back.
Hello.
Probably going to be a bit of a shorter episode today because we had to move the recording back because new Manhunt come out. Final Manhunt.
We can't not watch the new Manhunts, you know? It's gotta happen.
Yeah, sorry.
So, yeah.
Anyway, so this week we were thinking we'd discuss character backstories, especially since there's just been some more information revealed on some of them.
Yeah. Before we do that really fast, I know we did a question of the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did we get any answers on that?
I do not think so.
Okay. Well, what was the question? Maybe we should just answer it ourselves. So, what was the question then? We'll answer it.
Alright, so the question was, what do you think is the most divisive event in DSMP history for either the fandom or the character?
Oh, for the fan?
Personally, I'd say Red Festival. Because people are still arguing over that, and it's like a year and a half after.
Exile?
Yeah, Exile's to me the obvious answer, but at least for fandom.
Divisive though.
It kind.
Like most people just agree it was bad. People just disagree on like exactly how bad it was and exactly why it was bad.
I'd say it's divisive in the sense that it's like one of the most like controversial arcs, so to speak. Like it's one of the events that has caused the most like tension and controversy amongst the fandom. Not necessarily because people disagree, because I think everyone sort of unanimously agrees that that was really, really bad. But it very drastically changed opinions on certain characters permanently, in a way that hasn't.
I was thinking
really
more in the
fixed.
sense that like, it's argued over a lot and like keeps coming up.
Yeah.
I think Exile kind of sort of fits that.
Yeah,
Exile,
so like
I
when,
think, fits
when
that.
when I hear divisive, I don't think of like what did people disagree against. I hear what do people keep talking about years in the future and can't seem to stop talking about, and that's Exile.
Yeah. I think Red Festival is another good example, though. Like, that is another, good...
Red Festival's really good.
Divisive one. I think, what else? I mean, even, like, I don't know, every major point that has anything to do with L'Manberg was divisive.
Because
Like,
L'Manberg sucked.
Like, the original L'Manberg Revolution, that doesn't get brought up as often,
frequently.
I want to say.
Yeah.
But when it does, it's still very divisive between people being like, no, they were the good guys, and it was terrible, and no, the Dream SMP were the good guys. So I'd say that's also really divisive.
Even when Wilbur straight
It's a
up
good
says
view.
that they're not. Well, I didn't do this for a good reason, guys.
I'd say Wilbur's death, final death before becoming, dead, is also pretty divisive, because I think there's a lot of people who still sort of argue over that, and particularly Phil's part in it, and whether it's, how much blame should he take for what he did during that, and how that should have gone. So I think even that is pretty divisive. I don't know, you could pick just about anything in the Dream SMP.
I think the things that are most divisive are the things that like sort of align themselves with arguments and disagreements that people have anyway. Like the whole Wilbur's death thing is very much, it's not just an argument over fictional characters, it's an argument over who has responsibility in a situation like this, like that.
Yeah.
Which I find annoying, to be honest, because this is a fictional story that you should be enjoying as a story. You shouldn't be
kind of. I mean, fiction is meant to be a reflection of reality, so it's understandable that people would find stuff
But to get
that they
so
have
worked
opinions
up over
on
it is my
in
issue.
fiction, but I do think that people get a bit carried away with it, with the fighting and arguing over
Yeah,
it.
like,
Yeah.
I love so you people might hate me for saying that I like watching MatPat and Game Theory, and they do a phenomenal job of bringing reality into the fictional game, but at the same time, they never forget that it's just a story, a game, a movie, or whatever, that it's not necessarily real, but this is what would happen if it was, and I like that. It's interesting, right? But the fandom tends to take these kind of arguments so far that you will literally get death threats for posting a list of war crimes.
Yeah.
I got a death threat. Oh no, I got suicide baiting literally like yesterday for saying that child abuse isn't the only form of abuse that exists.
Wait, really?
And when someone isn't like recognized as a child in their world and someone is abusive to them, even if they are legally recognized as a child by our laws, does not make it child abuse. Like, child abuse is a specific type of abuse. It's not just abuse done to a child.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, I'm sure there's some definitions that define it that way, because there are multiple ones, but the one that I'm familiar with defines it that, and I find that the better one, because it allows greater distinction between exactly how someone's abused. Like, in the example of, like, Exile and Tommy and Dream, the specific thing is, like, it wouldn't make any difference whether Tommy was a year and a bit older when that happened.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have any impact on what happened. It wouldn't have any different impact on him.
It would still be
whether
equally
he
as
was
terrible.
a year and a bit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I get that.
And I am one of those people that gets very annoyed when people use words
Incorrectly?
in a way that's inaccurate, specifically because they know that saying that word instead will evoke a stronger emotional response.
Oh god, I hate that. I hate that
Especially
so
because
much.
it usually dilutes the meaning of the word itself.
Yeah. So you know how, not to get controversial here, but the moment Dream started to get literally physically tortured in Pandora, people started calling Exile torture because it invoked a stronger emotional response, and Tommy obviously must be more traumatized than Dream, otherwise his trauma is invalid.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing that I hate in the fandom, that it keeps popping up everywhere, all the time.
It's always frustrating.
It's childish.
Like, there's a lot of arguments, I think, in the fandom that are very much based on that emotion. Like, there's, actually, like, specific words for it. I can't remember them off the top of my head.
Sorry to be the one to break it to you guys, but the fandom is so childish and petty. Like, genuinely, it gets that way very often. Especially
It's
when
hard
it
to
comes
say
the
if that's like
controversial
the
ones.
entire fandom or if it's just the Twitter fandom, because Twitter itself is just a petty place, and I think it
It's so
spreads
true.
somewhat to other parts. But like, I think the Reddit's pretty chill for the most part. It
Twitter
really just
infects
depends where
everything
you
it
go, but
touches.
it's definitely Twitter is definitely petty as hell. But you know, Well, okay, but no,
Okay, so here's what I was thinking of. I just looked this up on Wikipedia. Modes of persuasion. Okay, so basically the ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is appeal to authority or credibility of the presenter. So this is basically when someone says, you should listen to what I say because I'm an expert on this topic. And also includes cases where someone says, like, you should listen to me because I'm from this country that I'm talking about, or I've experienced this thing. To try and convince people of something. Then there's pathos, which is an appeal to emotions, which is what we're talking about with like misusing words and stuff, where you're trying to get an emotional response to convince people to agree with you. Such as saying, you should hate this character because, and then explaining in a way that you know will provoke a negative emotional response, rather than giving them the information and letting them come up with their own emotional response based on that.
You're imposing what
And
they
then
should feel
logos,
onto
which is
them.
the logical appeal, is saying, well, like, which, for example, would be saying, like, well, in this situation, we did this, and it works, so therefore it's logical that in this new situation we're discussing, we should do the same thing. So I think on this podcast, I suppose, we try to use logos if we're talking about something to persuade some people of something.
Generally, I think that's more the side we edge towards.
nodding my head.
I mean, obviously we're gonna lean more towards other stuff. I mean, we definitely use ethos, especially when we're making fun of Wilbur and stuff.
That's true. It's a combination. But I feel like we've talked enough about the fandom side of things. I feel like we talked about like what event was divisive of the fandom. And just we talked about the fandom. What's divisive in terms of the characters? Because to me, Doomsday,
I think there is a lot of crossover. Like, I definitely think,
I would say,
yeah, but also the Lamberg War.
I would also say
I think that's one that's
Red Festival
between
was
both.
also divisive amongst the characters because of the way Wilbur ends up pitting Techno against Tommy, or talking Tommy against Technoblade, and then he's just stewing the seeds of doubt, going like, so there's a traitor among us.
I think one that was divisive for the characters, but not really for the fandom, was probably the election when Manberg won, because that was something that divided a lot of the characters, but not the fandom as much, because people were largely united in, like, against that, at least until Wilbur started becoming more villainous, and then you started seeing people interpreting him as more of a good guy, or them both as neutral, and so on.
Fundy especially.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, I'm gonna say Doomsday was the most divisive amongst the characters, just because it led to a lot of conflict amongst people that necessarily were on the right side, or like previously on the same side, I should say, like Quackity and Tubbo, Quackity and Rambo, Techno and Dream versus Tommy and Tubbo, Ghostbur and Phil and Tommy. Like, I'd say,
yeah,
Doomsday, like, is...
It was pretty divisive.
Yeah, I'd say Doomsday as far as characters. Other than that, I think the only thing I can think of that had a more... I'd say it's like... Maybe the final control room? That's a good one.
I know that was really divisive, though, because they were already at war.
Well,
it mostly divided the Manberg and Eric.
Of Eric, and sort of, but I feel like that it doesn't come off as divisive, but because Eric, that first betrayal in the first Manberg War with Eric was kind of like the first of its kind on the server to that impact. It not only completely wrecked the morale of the Manbergians for the most part, but then it completely devastated it, like wiped them out. Like, they couldn't do anything. They lost all of their gear, and so it kind of has that aspect. But then when you think about it in the long term, that first betrayal had like a really, really big impact on the other characters, like Tubbo, Tommy, Wilbur. They never recovered from that. Like, Wilbur completely changed as a person, and then Tommy and Tubbo still don't trust Eric pretty much to this day, and don't forgive him. So it's like, it's a smaller scale compared to like Doomsday, but I think it's still sort of a divisive, like, conflict driving plot point. And the only other thing I can think of that had that similar like level of severity, even if it's on like a limited scale, is probably either Exile or like, yeah, probably Exile, but that's like a more specific, like Tommy and Dream, and then Tommy and Tubbo, and then yeah. So I don't know. It's a smaller scale, but
it feels like people have just completely forgotten about the whole like Tommy versus Tubbo apologists thing. Like, I feel that's something we should remind people of more, because people see them as like so much the same thing.
I think they're great.
I mean, like, at least under the umbrella of Bench Trio apologists.
Yeah, I don't...
Also, recently I was once again reminded that Bench Trio literally does not exist in canon.
DSMP. Sorry,
like,
guys.
they just, like, they're all just individually friends, and they've done, like, exactly one group activity, and it was trying to murder someone in prison.
It's one of those situations of, I'm friends with these two guys. Well, I'm, like Tubbo being friends with both of them, but then Tommy and Rambo not being really friends with each other, so they just sort of hang out with each other, but it's like, they're not really friends. Like, being in a group where your friend brings
like,
his
get
friend.
Along. They're like friendly acquaintances.
Yeah. And you kind of know them, but it's not like, not a super close-knit relationship. So it's a little awkward, actually. Especially when the jealousy issues pop up.
It feels like Ranbu and Tommy are like just like a regular real life friendship, and then Tubbo and Tommy and Ranbu and Tubbo are like forged in the bonds of war friendship. I worded that wrong. Like, it's forged in the fires of war friendships.
Yeah. Those friendships you gain in, like, really I don't know, I think going through, like, shared experiences, especially, like, shared trauma, is, I think, recognized as one of the most bond, like, forming experiences. It's why people who've been in wars, like, a lot of them and their, like, unit mates, like, stay close after they get out of the war or after they get out of the military. Like, it's and that's why I think the reason that, like, and I think that's trying to figure out how to word this. I think that's part of the reason that Tommy and Tubbo got so close, is they were close originally and then they went through all this shit together and got closer. It's just that over time the shit kept going and the bad things kept happening. And more specifically, it kept, like, making a mess of their lives. And so when they finally, like, got that chance at peace with New L'Manberg, as, like, Tubbo saw it, that was one of his friends trying to dive back into the fire and take him with him. And he was trying to avoid it.
Codependency is a bitch.
Codependency. And he, obviously, like, he can't, like, if you've been in war, then you don't want to go back. So, yeah, he was, it was just that moment was such a divisive, you know, like, split for the two of them, of just that sort of, you know, that forced confrontation between the two, and the differences between them. Because they've always been different characters. It's just that normally they've always worked on the same side. But that gets changed when new responsibilities come up. And I don't necessarily even think it was a bad thing for their relationship. I think it helped set new boundaries. But I don't know. It's Tommy and Tubbo's relationship in particular is just an interesting thing. And then you get into the whole Ranbu, Tommy, Tubbo, like, trio relationship, and it's just like, I
don't think this fits.
It's a triangle of friendship, but it's a very strange triangle of friendship that was very, what is it? I just watched a thing. It's not a, you know, like a romantic love triangle. It's like a platonic love triangle, obviously, but
it's a relationship triangle.
It's a relationship triangle.
I'd say it's one of those, you know, the optical illusions of a triangle where
it's like,
it looks like they're connected
they
properly, but when you actually, if you have a physical object of it, when you actually, like, move it forwards, it turns out that one of the sides isn't actually connected with each other.
Yeah, I just watched a video about this. Hold on. Oh god, there's a word for it.
Maybe ampersand?
Not a
triangle? Like, you know how they use the ampersand symbol on AO3 to represent platonic relationships?
Yeah. It's like...
Or is it the overly sarcastic studios?
It's kind of like a new partner versus old partner thing. Triangle,
yeah,
where it's
you're
like...
looking at the overly sarcastic
productions
video,
for Talk Love Triangles. Yeah, I just watched that recently, and they went through
yeah,
all
the
of them.
mock triangles.
And I think if I had to pick one, it'd be like the new partner versus the old partner thing, of A being Tubbo, for example, and then B
Tubbo's
being
the what did she call in the video? Like the axis, the
I don't know. I think
it was the axis.
Tubbo is it's like Tommy is like the old partner, and then Ranbu's now the new partner. And there's this very one-sided rivalry between Tommy and Ranbu, because Ranbu is just a lovable dude who doesn't care. He's like, oh yeah, you're my friend. And Tommy is
okay, but no, it would be really funny if he did care.
It would be funny if he did care.
We could have a whole fun, like, Ranbu tries to murder Tommy plot.
Oh my god.
Like the Team Rocket arc.
I feel like it's more like, oh man. No, there's another kind of love triangle. What is it? It's the one, like, where, like, A and B are in, like, it's, when you watch a TV show, and it's, like, there's a couple in the show that have, like, breakups and get back together, but it's, like, very obvious that they are the end game couple. And that, in this instance, is Rambo and Tubbo, because you know that they're endgame friends. Like, they're husbands, right? They're endgame. Like, that's not gonna change.
They've already reached their endgame.
That's gonna happen. They've reached that. But then there's that side character who thinks that they actually have a shot. And so, like, you're just watching him, like, make an utter fool of himself. Okay, so basically
what you're saying is, like, Tubbo is the Marco, Rambo is the star, and Tommy is the Jackie.
I don't know what that's a reference to.
A Star versus the Forces of Evil.
Yeah, I never watched it.
I don't
Decent
watch
show,
that.
terrible ending.
I've never seen it.
I watched, like, the first 2 seasons, and that's all that's good.
It's like, it's
and
not
the first
like
season
a
even
true...
that good. Like, really only the second season.
Oh, I found it. It's not a true love triangle. It's a mock triangle. It's a vestigial one where Tommy is bonded to Tubbo and thinks he has a rivalry ship for his friendship with Tubbo versus Rambo. Whereas Rambo and Tubbo are obviously endgame and you're going to remain friends. So you really just watch Tommy and feel kind of bad for him because you're like, man, you need to get over this.
Everything is gonna make your attempts at trying to get back with Tubbo worse. Because you're literally standing there contemplating whether or not killing Michael is gonna break them up. No, that's just gonna make them hate you.
I forgot that was his plan at one point. That just makes all the art of him babysitting Michael so much more funny because he literally cares so little about that piglin. He's just like,
would they get him to babysit Michael? Would they get him to babysit Michael, and the entire time he's trying to kill Michael? But he keeps just failing in increasingly hilarious ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please, someone write that. That'd be so funny.
That would be really funny. It's just... Oh,
like,
Tommy.
He tries to feed Michael, like, poison in his milk.
It turns out
but then Michael
are
thinks
immune to
that...
poison.
What's the name of the spider again? Shroud?
Yeah, Shroud.
So then Michael thinks that Shroud looks hungry, so Michael gives Shroud his milk. But then it turns out that the poison actually works like spider coffee. And then Tommy spends the rest of the episode chasing after Shroud.
I honestly...
jumping around on the wall.
I haven't thought about Shroud in ages, and you bringing him back up, I was just like, isn't Shroud dead?
I'm pretty sure...
It's like, oh no, wait, that was the George dream. Alright, okay. I forgot. I was like, oh yeah, Shroud's alive still. I forgot that it's like, out of everything that George, like, dreamt up in that stream, or his character dreamt up in that stream, I just forgot. I was like, that was the one thing. I was like, oh yeah, that happened. No, it didn't. It's been so long since a pet died on the server. I was like, oh yeah,
We're
no, of
due
course
for
that
some
happened.
carnage.
Yeah, I know, right? No one's died on that server in a hot minute. You know, in, like, Minecraft terms, not... Other than, like, Slimesicle. And I guess Sam lost a life. Which, you know, that's fair. Fair. Deserved.
I still need to watch that.
Oh, man,
It's been 3 weeks and I've been putting it
How
off
have you not
because
watched that?
I've been
It's
procrastinating.
amazing!
I know it's gonna be amazing, but I've been procrastinating and then just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. I need to get around to
What
watching
are you
it before it
procrastinating
becomes
on?
2 months.
You need to watch
Sorry, I
Sam
missed.
die.
What are you procrastinating on
Watching the final prison stream where
No, all of the prison streams.
You haven't
Except for
watched
the
any of
first
Sam's
2.
prison streams?
I'm missing 3 prison.
Look, what you need to do, I got the ultimate trick to stop procrastinating.
Don't spoil it. I will actually
use the
end
thing
this
you're
call.
procrastinating on to procrastinate on something else
True.
that you need to do.
Oh, that's true.
True.
So, like,
That's how I
You
got
need to
through
finish
watching
writing an
all of
essay.
Critical Role.
like, you need to finish writing an essay, okay? But you also need to revise for a test. So you procrastinate on revising for the test by working on the essay, or vice versa.
It's genius. flawless. It can't be stopped.
Use your procrastination against itself.
Yeah. Procrastinate twice as hard. But on something else, so it doesn't count.
And then by the time you get one of them done, you'll have another thing that needs doing, so you can procrastinate on that to get the other thing done.
Nice.
Exactly. It all works out in the end. Okay, but I feel like that covers the answer of the week and more. We got off track, but it was still DSMP, so.
I was going to say that, mentioned it before, but I was going to say that the Red Festival is also a pretty character divisive moment, because, Techno suddenly feels like his allies aren't going to back him up. Tommy thinks Techno is the traitor, or whatever, and Wilbur's just standing there fanning the flames. But also, like, it also really set Techno at odds with the rest of the, Pogtopia members, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that is a very good example of a divisive, event for the characters, because... Oh boy, that has had, like, lasting repercussions, too, because it's affected Tubbo and Techno's relationship, and they're only now starting to get through it. Mm-hmm. It badly impacted Techno and Tommy's relationship, and has continued to badly impact their relationship, because that was... I don't know, I feel like out of all the characters, obviously it's had the biggest impact on Tubbo, for obvious reasons, but it's had a really big impact on Techno, too, and his mentality towards, like, his own self-preservation.
Yeah!
I mean, like, especially recently, with...
Which is... this whole... Yeah, I should have been ready to die for my ideals when I've only got one life, which brings us to our topic of backstories.
True. Oh, man.
There's also a thing that he's building, and I'm kind of assuming at the moment that he's building it non-canonically.
I mean... I think it's probably one of those things, like, he's building it, and then in character he's gonna be like, so I've been working on something, guys! Just like when he, like, revealed the Wither Vault, and it was like, yeah, look what I was doing off-screen. It's gonna be one of those
I'm
things.
kind of waiting until it's revealed in lore
I
to judge whether he built it in character or he built it out of character and then found it in character.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones because of the way... Because he's been trying to keep it secret, right? But then people found it, and so it's like, I might as well show it.
It's not hard to find it when he put it in right by the spawn into the new world. That's not really hiding it. That's very... part of me wants to theorize on what it is, and part of me just thinks it's some kind of, like, anarchy headquarters of, like, welcome to the new world. If you start a country, I'll kill you all. Bye!
Based on how there are cobwebs around... I believe in the build that he's supposed to put down, but he hasn't put down yet. I think it's gonna be something he's finding, or it's gonna be the backdrop of something he's got planned in the future. But yeah, Technoblade, One Life. What's that all about?
True. Yeah. See, okay, so my question is... It could be a mob thing, because he's a pig.
Yes.
And it could be a mob thing. It could be just wherever his world is, has only one life, like Phil's.
I think that's what he said. I come from a place where people don't have extra lives.
Which...
I think it was more like, where I come from, people don't have extra lives.
Yeah, something like that. But, so, here's my hypothesis, I guess is the word. See, so either that's true, and it means that even in the Dream SMP world, that still applies, where if you had one life where you were born, you have one life now. Or, and this really depends on how they do world building with the Dream SMP, because I'm really not sure, it's a different thing, and it really depends on, like, oh, well, Techno was on this world, or this server in the past, and now had one life. Techno's now on this server, and this server doesn't play by those rules, so he has 3 lives. And he just doesn't know it. Like, it could be something that they play with where he thinks he has only one life, and he doesn't. Or he does have actually one life, and then lives are determined on where you're born, which is a weird, how?
Or normally, everybody only gets one life, but the Dream SMP offers you 2 extra for your memories.
And that's why everyone has amnesia.
Yeah, that's why everybody has amnesia.
See, I feel like it's more of, like, if I had to guess, if I just had to come up with, like, a theory, like, if I wanted to explain it, it would literally just be that Dream XD as a god feeds off of death. Like, he eats souls. So having people lose lives and still remain means that instead of for every one person, he gets 3 deaths, like 3 parts of a soul. Because he said that, Sam died, and I think he told Foolish that he got fed or something, or like Puns killed somebody. Did Puns kill somebody? I don't know. Puns killed somebody and he got a soul or something like that. Like,
no, I think he said Puns just offers him souls.
Yeah. No, he did say that. I feel like, I don't know, I remember in one of Foolish's streams with him, he said that, and I think it was when Sam died, he said that someone gave me a soul today, like I ate today, kind of a thing. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I'm fairly sure he said that. So to me, it just makes sense, like, oh, he's a god, he eats souls, of course he wants, the people on the world that he controls to have more than one life so that he can eat more souls, which...
I mean, it makes you think, like, how do souls work in this world? Like, it's a thing where, like, when you die, you lose, like, a chunk of your soul and then grow back, and then you die again and you lose another chunk of your soul and then you grow back. So he's basically, like, farming them.
Yeah. Or maybe it's like a Horcrux situation where each time you die, you lose a part of your soul, and that's why every time one of our characters has lost a life, they've gotten more and more unhinged.
I know that doesn't work. Sam's completely unhinged, and he had 3 lives until recently.
That is very true.
True.
No.
But that wouldn't make sense for, like, why XD was doing it, because it would make more sense just to take the entire soul at one time. Like, what would be the sense of taking, like, bits of soul?
He's savoring them.
Unless...
No, but
I don't know, that's a weird question.
I think, thinking about this. Based off what we know, based off what we know about both Technoblade, Philza, and Dream's and other characters' reactions to Technoblade, I think he really does only have one life, especially considering how Dream treats him in the prison when Quackity's threatening to kill him, and the way Quackity and the Butcher Army think that killing him once would be enough.
That's true. But that brings up the question, Tubbo didn't know about that, so how would Dream and Quackity? Dream maybe because technically he's the one who lets people onto the server, so maybe he just has that knowledge.
He's the admin knowledge.
Yeah.
Or Technoblade could have told them in one of his stories, or he could have pieced it together based off of Technoblade's story. They spent 3 months together. They probably learned some stuff about each other.
True.
He could have guessed it based on Techno's fear of getting killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has always been weird when you think about it, the way that characters, specifically when talking about murdering Techno, kind of work off the assumption that, oh yeah, if we kill him once, he'll be dead. Like, that's how the Butcher's Army worked. Yep. That's how Quackity works all the time. Yep. That's how a lot of
people might know because he and Technoblade do have a history.
I always figured it was like a symbolic thing.
I thought it was a symbolic thing too, but now that we know he only has one life, it's kind of like,
it's like the Technoblade never dies thing, and sort of proving that wrong.
Guys. Like,
if you can kill him once, you can kill him twice more.
Yeah, that's true. But also, I think Quackity might know because he and Technoblade have a shared past in Minecraft Monday. I believe.
Yeah, that's true. Possible.
So Quackity might have known.
And he does act in a way that suggests he knows.
Yeah, the other people might not have known.
Or he might have just figured it out early on.
Yeah.
Maybe at the Red Festival.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's plausible that Quackity, as the head of the Butcher Army, knew about it but didn't tell anyone else, and so that's why he was so confident that he would only have to kill Technoblade once.
Interesting.
And also why he's so confident he can kill Technoblade in the prison cell. Like Technoblade wouldn't respond or something. It's also based off of Philza's reaction to Technoblade being in the prison and being kind of missing for 3 months.
Yeah. Huh.
But also, Technoblade, we know Technoblade and Philza are old friends that go back far. And Philza only has one life. And Technoblade comes from a place where people only have one life. So you think they came from the same area?
That is a good question, because I always worked off, it's always been unclear to me whether it's just that Phil's is built different and only got one life because hardcore man, which would possibly imply that Techno also comes from a hardcore world, but I don't know, that's theorizing.
Technoblade never dies.
But I don't know, because I think a lot of people work off, Phil, hardcore man. Wilbur gave him one life because funny, haha, hardcore man. But is it because he's a hardcore dude, or is it because he died twice already? Like, what?
Or maybe
the
he
deal
came from
there?
a place where you only have one life. Like, these things are very
Or maybe it's something to do with
ambiguous.
his connection to the goddess of death.
Yeah, like,
That's possible.
it's very ambiguous.
Maybe the
as to
fact that he's
why.
on one life means he's closer to death, which means he can communicate with her and let her possess him.
Maybe? I don't know, there's so many options.
But that's why it's like, I think that's a good thing, because then if they want to change their minds, they can change their minds and make it something else. Give it a different reason for why Philza and Technoblade only have one life. Like, they don't, because it's never been outright stated to us. We just assume that it was haha hardcore world. Hardcore
Yeah.
go brr, brr, bleh.
To be honest, that is kind of how Wilbur writes.
True. I'm pretty sure that was the reasoning originally, is I'm pretty sure, isn't that the reason he gave him one life, is because haha funny hardcore man, and then Phil just went with it because haha funny hardcore man, and then
Phil can change it
either
later
they'll
if he
go
wants
with
to.
that, yeah, it's vague enough, it's like not stated in story
Yeah.
why he's only got one life, so they can still like mess with it.
The same way the same way Dream can mess with Dream XD and the origin of the books and
Yeah.
etc. Because it's so vague, you don't actually know where. So if you wanted to, you could retroactively fit something else in. You don't have to keep doing what was always how it's gonna be. You can change it later on if the people in story don't already know about it, etc. Because then otherwise it's just a retcon. And retcons
Yeah.
are just sad.
Retcons
Useful.
can work, it's just
I mean,
gets
retcons
confusing.
can work. Retcons are best when they're used to cover up plot holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're just retconning something because you have like a cooler idea or something, then that's usually not great. But if you're retconning because you realize that you messed something up, that's fine.
Carl
Yeah.
It
accidentally
really depends
learned
on
the wrong
why
skin.
you're doing it.
Sorry, can we just retcon that entire conversation we had? I need to change skins real quick.
Wait, what you talking about?
Retconning. It's like, I'm in the wrong skin, guys. Wait, hold on. Undo all of that lore. This is fine. Oh, lordy. The Dream SMP's world building backstories continues to be incredibly vague. Even when they work on it and give us details, they're still, and I think that's part of what
it's-
works best for them, because it means
It's
that they
like
can do
simultaneously
things.
millennia old and also 3 years old.
Yeah.
Age does not exist in the Dream SMP.
No, it doesn't.
Honestly, I really like the interpretation that the SMP has only existed for as long as it has IRL. It's just that XD's sense of time is just so wonky that he interprets that as millennia.
I mean, yeah,
And all the
he
stuff
doesn't know
in
what a
Tales
week
is just happening in other places in the world.
Yeah.
kind of like the idea of
Or in other realities.
I kind of like the idea.
And he's actually 2.5.
I kind of like the idea that the Dream SMPs only existed as long as it has been IRL, but the story's history, it started at that point and they just sort of expanded into the past and the future. Like it didn't
Mhm.
exist, and
Is
then
there,
suddenly
some-
the past
is,
existed.
Is there some like fictional world that has a similar concept to that? Or am I thinking?
I took it
I
from
don't
a
know.
fanfiction, so please ignore me.
I've definitely heard that before.
I
One example I can think of is actually like this Tumblr blog that did a bunch of Minecraft world building and has a similar concept. Where when a Minecraft world comes into existence, it comes into existence with a past that already exists.
Yeah. I kind of like that idea.
And I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's actually, I remember it from a book series I read that has like this virtual world created by an AI. It's fairly common with the concept of like a created computer generated world in fiction. Well, I say fairly common, I mean like I've come across it more than one time, so apparently it is. Because it gives an excuse for the created world to have a history.
But still be like created and new.
Yeah. Like it was created with history.
Yep. There's also an anime where there's this. I don't remember what anime it was, but there's actually a power where if you change something of the world, then that's how the world has always been, and you wouldn't know it because you would remember things like if the world was created five days ago, you wouldn't realize it because you'd have memories of 7 years ago because that would be implemented into the when it was created, right? The world could have been made yesterday.
Now you're getting to some derealization.
Apologies. Apologies.
You just baffled me for a minute. I was like, wait, what is happening? Oh, no. Oh, God. Yeah.
The Dream SMP was only made 5 minutes ago.
No, stop. You're gonna hurt somebody. Oh, no, don't do that. Okay.
That stuff's always fun.
There's so many, that's the best part of the Dream SMP, I think. Is like we get a lot of concrete stuff, but then at the same time, we're getting all of this. It's all rooted in vague world building, which honestly I think is some of the best ways to do roleplay. Because if you don't set rules, then you can do whatever.
And it's a lot of stuff that's just like it's vaguely implied, like the manhunt stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's hinted that the manhunts happened in some form, but we don't know exactly how it is. Like, was it just something that Dream did with his friends?
Was he actually?
Were they actually hunting him, and then they became
Yeah.
friends? Were the manhunts an active thing going on at the same time as the Dream SMP? Do they happen after the Dream SMP?
Is it happening in parallel with the Dream SMP?
I do really love when people make, like, the manhunts the backstory of the Dream Team, and, like, they were hunting Dream for something he did, and then they became friends somehow. And it works really well in a sense, because, like, all of them are very competent people. So...
I think I like it because it explains stuff about Dream's character.
Oh, yeah. But it also
and why
kind
he's very much got this I can do everything myself. I can save the whole server myself.
Yeah.
It also implies
Sort of
something like
mindset.
really interesting about like Sapnap and George and like Aunt Bad and Sam and their relationships with Dream, because if they had met him hunting him down and then somehow became friends with him enough that when he settled down, they settled down as well, and they created this place, and then compare that to how they act now. And, like,
I mean,
it's interesting
that
to
might
think that
even
they
be-
were enemies to friends to enemies again.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that might be
spanned.
even a factor. Maybe they never fully trusted him even when they became friends, so it was easier for them to turn on him later.
Maybe
Yeah.
He always knew.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like, if it's true, then there is that sort of thing that they could definitely just, like, imagine we're watching a stream one day and it's like Sapnap and Dream are, like, confronting one another, and then suddenly Sapnap, like, drops is like, you know, back when we did manhunts, I thought you were the bad guy. I guess I was right. Like, could you imagine, like, how, like, if they dropped a line like that and they made the manhunts, like, the canon backstory
That'll
for
be
the
in
Dream
so many
Team?
animatics.
Even if it was just, like, even if it wasn't, like, all 5 hunters, what if it was just, like, Sapnap,
And George.
Dream, and George? Like, it was just the 3, like, it was just the core Dream Team. It's like, even that, like, that would break
Oh.
us.
Juggler would go crazy, okay? Juggler would go mad from that.
That would be some, like, hot shit, okay? Like, that would be the dope. It would just be so good. Like, there's already so many fanfics and stuff that people have made.
Manhunter backstory. Dream, you
Dream,
wanna make
do
the
it,
Manhunter
do it,
backstory.
Dream, do it. It could be so sad
It could
and
be so much
angsty.
fun.
And we know you like that. We know you're an
Dream,
angst
we know
writer,
you
damn it.
secretly listen to this.
I think that's all we have time for today. We didn't get to Aaron's backstory. Dang. Or
That's
Foolish's.
We've talked
Or-
about Aaron's and
It's
Foolish's
been around.
backstories before, though, and I don't think we've got
We're
anything
doing
new,
a short
so.
episode because in my time zone it is past midnight.
Yeah.
And Sai
I
needs
do
to
need
go
to
to
sleep.
bed like a good person.
It's technically Sunday. Alright.
Hey, it's not even a school night. I should be able to stay up till 3 a.m. if I want to.
I mean, do you want to?
No, because non sleep will stay in the morning.
That's
you
what
go.
we thought. Alright. Well, this was fun, as always.
See ya.
Bye!
Oh, wait.
Oh, question of the
Question of the week.
Oh yeah, we gotta come up with something.
What backstory would you like for what character?
Yeah! Or,
Yeah,
Or
just
that
like-
doesn't have
yeah.
a concrete
Give us
backstory.
a-
What would you like to see from them?
yeah.
Yeah. What kind of backstories would you like to see?
Yeah, that works.
Bye.
Bye!
Okay, bye!
Well, thanks for listening to the 41st episode of Mellohi, and we hope you enjoyed it. If there's any topics you'd like to hear us discuss, feel free to leave a comment or find us on Twitter at Mellohi Podcast. You can also ask us questions or just get updates about new episodes. You also have a Discord server that you can find a link to in the description. See you next time!